Ken Corley, I want to thank you for allowing us to have this matter on and topical issues here this evening. I will be sharing my time, 2 minutes here with Deputy Colleary, and I'll be giving a minute of my time to Minister or to Deputy Fitzmaurice. I thought you went into government last week. My apologies. The recent announcement, Minister, of the closure of the exclusive cigar manufacturers Ireland plant in Ballaghaderreen really didn't come as a surprise to many people, as a number of the staff were saying the writing was on the wall for some time. Now, to me, because it was known for some months that there could be difficulties, I feel that the government should have been on the ball and should have been watching this situation, and maybe if they weren't able to save those jobs, that they would have something put in place so as to ensure that employment would be brought into the town of Ballaghaderreen to replace those jobs. ECMI has been established in Roscommon since 1978. And is one of the largest private employers in West Roscommon. That might surprise some people, but it is. The jobs are in a specific skill set, and many who are being made redundant will likely have to leave their county to find similar work, and we all know Dublin is busting here at the seams. The IDA has visited County Roscommon only once in 2017, and there's nearly half the year gone, and in the information I've received, only once in 2016. Now, Ballaghaderreen has been dealt several severe blows throughout over recent years. And I suppose going back maybe 12 or 14 years, we had the loss of the UMP meat plant. But we also lost a hotel there. We lost several businesses. And the reality is Ballaghaderreen community did react. They built many units, and they're there for jobs to go into. And the government haven't delivered. Now, there's been a huge amount of talk about balanced regional development in the programme for government, and it's not happening. I know I'll have an opportunity to come back. I want to hand over to Deputy Fitzmaurice for Tom Albion.
Ken Corley, and I want to thank Deputy Murphy for sharing his time. I'd like to echo the words that he has said about Ballaghaderreen has suffered a devastating blow. My understanding is the Minister has said that the likes of Enterprise Ireland or the IDA don't get involved in tobacco-related products. From my understanding, that was said to me in the last few weeks. But, Minister, regardless of what to do or don't get involved in, the West of Ireland needs a balance of development. It is not getting that. Ballaghaderreen was once noted as sort of a gateway town, especially with Knock Airport needed beside it, and we do need a focus on Ballaghaderreen as well as other towns in County Roscommon and indeed the west of Ireland, because sadly, as has been said earlier on, these people will have to drive 90 or 100 miles to Dublin, which isn't able to cater for what's there. And if you look at all the plans that's ahead, it's about building light or railways out to the likes of the airport. But I think, Minister, that a focus should be put on putting good infrastructure in place and making sure that there is an attractiveness to move, especially for business people. I'm not saying you can take someone by the neck and plant them and say you're going to set up business there. It lost a meat factory, it has lost businesses. There is scope there. There is people in the area. That's one thing. Is the raw materials are there in the line of employing people. The amount of people is in the areas. And if we can get those jobs in, it will be good for the west of Ireland, it will be good for Ballaghaderreen and indeed all the west of Ireland, but it will be also good for an economy. So, Minister, I would ask your government to start focusing on this and making sure the west of Ireland gets its fair share. Minister.
Derek, can I hear you?
Deputy Colleary.
Okay. Thank you. I want to first of all thank Deputy Murphy and Deputy Fitzmaurice and Deputy Canary as well for raising this issue here this afternoon. It's an important issue, and it's an issue that I have followed closely since I was first informed on the announcement as well. Firstly, can I say as a rural deputy myself, I recognise the job losses in the town, such as Ballaghaderreen, and of course my thoughts are with the workers and the wider community as well by this announcement. Thankfully, we don't have too many announcements like this in recent times. In fact, the trend is going in the other direction, thankfully. But when it does happen, it's dramatic for a town itself. I have to highlight, of course, first of all, that the Workplace Relations customer service staff are available to meet with employees concerned, to provide information and to answer any questions that may have with regard to the present situation and statutory employment right entitlements as well. In addition to this, the State provides industrial relations mechanisms to assist parties in their efforts to resolve any difference that they may have. ECMI, as Deputy Murphy and Deputy Fitzmaurice has said, received a number of supports in various schemes from my department through Enterprise Ireland between 2006 and 2011. In January 2013, the Department of Health, as Deputy Morris has said, communicated to all government departments and their agencies that the guidelines for the implementation of Article 5.3 of the World Health Organization and Framework Convention on Tobacco Control specifically said in Principle 4 of the guidelines states that because their products are lethal, the tobacco industry should not be granted incentives to establish or run their business. As such, my department and the agencies are no longer in a position to support companies in this sector, and it's only in this sector, let's be quite clear. That said, as I said, my department will continue to concentrate on creating sustainable employment in all regions throughout Ireland in the Regional Action Plan for Jobs. The West Action Plan for Jobs covers the counties of Galway, Mayo and Roscommon and is designed to promote the region as a whole for economic development, which will in turn run to all 3 counties. In 2016, the West actually was the second fastest growing region in terms of employment, with numbers employed increasing by 5.5% over the year. We are all definitely moving in this right direction, there's no doubt about that. So I am concerned, and let me say that I am committed as well to working with the various agencies, the stakeholders in the West, to ensure that the positive trends continued and that sustainable jobs are being created also in the region. I might point out to the deputies the importance of indigenous industry as well in the area. The local enterprise offices in Roscommon created 121,000 jobs, or sorry, 121 jobs in 2016. Enterprise Ireland created 133 jobs and the IDA quoted 34 jobs. It is difficult from the IDA point of view because they do try really hard, and also I suppose you have to understand that a lot of the new jobs that are announced by the IDA are in existing IDA companies. They're not, as people think, new companies coming in all the time as well. But I am very encouraged by the LEO figure. I think the local enterprise offices have a very important role to play in job creation, particularly in the counties. There are 31 of them in the region, and I'm convinced that they will play an active role, plus Enterprise Ireland, in securing indigenous jobs in the region as well. And if the deputies are anxious for me to visit the LEO offices to see any plans they have in the future, I'd be delighted to do so with them, come down to Roscommon and visit the LEO offices and bring Enterprise Ireland personnel with me as well to see what we can do to improve the job situation in Roscommon. But I'm confident with the plans in place in the Regional Action Plan for Jobs and the Action Plan for Jobs that we will be able to continue to grow in the regions, and particularly in Roscommon as well. Maybe I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in my further reply.
Deputy Cleary.
Thank you, Colonel, and thank Deputy Murphy for allowing myself and Deputy Fitzmaurice to share the time. Minister, I bear you no personal grudge, but that response is completely inadequate. There is nothing specific in that response that relates to West Roscommon or East Mayo, the areas that are directly affected by the loss of these jobs. So, for instance, in East Mayo you have Knock Airport, which catered for 750,000 passengers last year, completely underutilised as a base for economic development. And as an asset for economic development. In Ballaghaderreen itself, you have a very innovative food ingredients product run by Arrivo, which has potential to spawn more industry if there is a focus put on food and creating food jobs within Ballaghaderreen. We cannot keep ignoring the collapse in small towns, and the ultimate irony, Minister, is that Ballaghaderreen is the headquarters of the Western Development Commission, where the outgoing chairman, former Fine Gael councillor Paddy McGuinness, declined to be reappointed because he called you out, he called this government out, and more importantly, he called permanent government out for their complete disinterest, their complete lip service to the challenges facing regional Ireland. Yes, we want you to come to West Roscommon. Yes, we want you to come to East Mayo, and specifically in Roscommon, focus on West Roscommon. The benefit and the growth that you speak about is going into the area around Monksland. It needs to be spread across the county, and similarly, Jobs Action Plan for the West is a plan for Galway City, and the rest of us are being left behind. Thank you, Concurrent.
Minister.
Yes, I thank Deputy Canary for highlighting this issue as well. Let me say to you, Ballaghaderreen, 3,000 people, and 38 job losses in Ballaghaderreen is a lot of jobs to be lost in a region, and they're all local people as well. And certainly, but I think you have to put on record, first, the work that has been done by the Action Plan for Jobs. The first progress report was completed in December last, and the live register in Roscommon, I think the statistics are there to prove that the numbers have fallen by 1,300 over the last 4 years, a decline of 30%. So it's not all doom and gloom, Deputy, in relation to job creation. And my department and I are very focused in on the regions itself. In fact, the new action plan for jobs, which we launched in, last February, has said that we will create 200,000 jobs by 2020, with 135,000 of those in the regions itself. And we have exceeded our expectations. In the first action plan for jobs, we said we create 100,000 jobs. We created 190,000 jobs. But I can assure you, Deputy, that the agencies in my department and the government are committed to Roscommon. And if you look at some of the, in relation to the competitive funds, which we had an initial allocation of €5 million for 48 local and regional initiatives. We had 2 calls under the competitive fund and the community enterprise initiative as well. 11 projects in the West were successful in securing funding. 5 of those are actually in partnership involving organisations in Roscommon, aiming at benefiting and supporting local business and entrepreneurs as well. The unemployment rate in the West, 7.9%, is a little above the rest, but the efforts are being made by the agencies. And I have to point out again the work being done by the local enterprise offices, because FDI will not go into every area. They tend to go into clusters. And I think what's important here is that we are doing this, is encouraging entrepreneurships. And that's despite the challenges we've out there. The LEOs have succeeded in creating over 3,500 jobs last year. And I think the fact that you look at the LEO figures in Roscommon, 145 in 2015, which was doubled from the previous year of 2014, slightly back to 2016. But as I said, I'm anxious that we continue to ensure that Roscommon is well served. Enterprise Ireland are doing that. They're working in collaboration with the LEOs as well. 133 jobs last year in Roscommon. Look at 2014, there was 311 jobs created there. So, with the agencies, with the support of the government, I'm confident, deputies, that we will try and secure alternative employment for Ballaghaderreen. As I said, 3,000 people there, and a lot of them, 38 people. That's a lot of people, jobs to lose, particularly for young families that may have mortgages, etc. We're very conscious of that, and we've also ensured that we have last year we ensured that the IDA made €150 million available for them to support regional property programme as well, to drive jobs in the multinational sector in rural areas as well. So the resources are there. We got resources in last year's budget. Rural Ireland is very important to us and will continue to be important to my department as well. And I'm very conscious of the concern raised by all 3 deputies this evening, and I will visit Roscommon in the near future to see for myself at first hand what's happening with the agencies there.
Thank you, Minister. The next item